So engagement and motivation are at the center of learning gamification. If you think about back on, for those of you that play games, you think about sort of your experiences around gaming and how it engages you. I mean, you don't play if you're not engaged, is really what it boils down to. So the same is true with gamification and learning. It's important that you know what the learners are motivated by and how you can engage them. So we need to move away from the more traditional approach of pushing content to learners to one that invites learners on a quest to learn. So makes it more learner-centered as opposed to facilitator-centered. According to the experts in human behavior and brain development, gaming is not only good for you, for those of you gamers, but essential to the development of parts of our brain that controls your cognitive skills. The most effective uses in gamification and learning are showing progress, increasing engagement, creating challenges, and instilling a sense of accomplishment. Think how good it is when you've completed a quest or you've completed something through your game. Gamification and learning works best when you make learners think, you give them opportunities to make choices and experience the consequences, whether they're negative or positive. That's how people learn. To be considered transformative, gamification must produce a high impact positive change rather than making it just a little more fun for learners. So here's some stats that I was telling you about that I thought was actually really interesting. I was doing a little bit of research and trying to come up with some interesting facts that are a little bit more relevant than the gamification webinar I did a couple of years ago. So some things to think about. So over 75% of people in North America are gamers, which is really high. I'm guessing that many of you have played games like SimCity, Grand Theft Auto, Candy Crush, Farmville, Minecraft, Rainbow Six Siege. There's many, many more, of course. The average gamer's age is actually 35. 18% of gamers are under 18. 53% are between 18 and 49, and 29% are over 50, which I thought was a really interesting fact. 65% of gamers play games socially, so they play with more than like just individually. They play with a group of people or another individual. 80% of learners say game-oriented learning would make them much more productive if it were more game-oriented. And Gen Ys are incredibly sophisticated, as are Gen Zs now, from a technology perspective, growing up with, having just grown up in a digital world, that's all they know. They're very enthusiastic online gamers who are helping to drive the growth of the gaming industry that's estimated to be worth $5.5 billion globally in 2018. That is huge. This Gen Y group is becoming the new workforce, and they have higher expectations about the way they like and want to learn. So, some interesting words from Karl Kapp. He's a professor of instructional technology at Bloomsburg University in Pennsylvania. He's an author and an industry expert on gamification. So he says that gamification is much more than just adding rewards, points, and badges to processes to motivate people. It's about the instructional method and not just the delivery system that provides the elements for learning in a game situation. Gamification is about taking elements of gaming and adding them to traditional instruction. So this is a really important concept. You don't just throw gaming elements into an existing course, e-learning course, or classroom-based course. You have to think about the planning process. You have to think about it up front and what you're planning for and who you're going to be motivating and how they like to be motivated. So there's a lot of planning that goes into gamification. It's not simply just throwing things at them and hoping it's going to work. So getting started with gamification. So we know what gamification is now. It's actually creating a learning experience, a whole game through the learning experience, and how it's different from game-based learning, which is adding just games to a learning course or learning experience. But what do we need to know before to get started with gamification? Gamification, as I said before, is about the learners. It's not about the game, and that's a really important concept to think about. It's not about knowledge, but the result in the change of behavior, which is sort of like any particular training course that we're designing or developing or facilitating with our learners. You want to ensure that there's a change in behavior back on the job in a positive way. It also takes the motivational techniques used in games and applies them to life and job applicable learning. It also gives learners quick, relevant feedback on their progress, such as evaluation, debriefing, and feedback.